Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to our viewers around the world. Welcome to the APO Productivity Talk 2022. Maybe if not late for me to also to wish you Happy New Year. Today, this is the first session of the P Talk APO program highlighting the productivity in the economics perspective, in the manufacturing sectors, in the services sector, public sector. We are inviting resource person speakers around the world to be with us to share their views and insights related to productivity improvement. So today, as the first session of 2022, the curtain raiser of productivity talk, we are very, very fortunate to have with us two guest speakers. One, we have Dr. Minh Khuong, Associate Professor from Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, Singapore. And we also have our second guest speaker, Ms. Buryan Turan from Turkey. She's the President and CEO of Simularge Informatics and Engineering Technologies. Our theme of discussion today is Productivity 2022 Rebound and Regrowth that will be shared in the term of economics perspective on how the member countries will transform based on the findings that will be shared later on by Dr. Minh Khuong, and as well as Ms. Buryan will share with us on how the private sector leverage the productivity digital and how they can accelerate the adoption of this technology in the wake of the pandemic. So for the viewers, we also have our moderator, Ms. Meidyatama, President Director Antara News Agency, that will be joining us later on. So before we start, may I invite our guest speaker, Dr. Minh Khuong, to give your brief introduction about yourself, Doctor, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Minh Khuong, and I am an associate professor at Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore. My research and teaching concentrate on economic growth, productivity analysis, and development strategy, with a special focus on policy issue in Asia. In my today presentation, I will be talking about economic rebound and regrowth in APO member economies. So this presentation includes two parts, rebound and regrowth. By rebound, I examine the growth pattern observed for each country in 2020 and 2021 to see their losses and their pace of recovery after the crisis. By regrowth, I will look at growth forecast for 2022 and 2023 in comparison to the pre-pandemic rate to identify some early indicator of new growth pattern of each country and region to explore whether the country will emerge stronger from the crisis and what policy in the priority the government should take to make this happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wu. So we will listen more from you later on while you're making presentation, and also we are going to discuss later on with some questions, some inquiries, most probably from our viewers as well as from the moderator as well. So now I would like to also to invite Ms. Buryan. How are you? I know this is early morning in Turkey. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Far East Asia. So Ms. Buryan, can you introduce yourself to the viewers today?
Sure, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me to the very first curtain ceremony of the P-Talk. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Simularge Technologies. I'm indeed a nuclear engineer with master's from mechanical engineering. Currently, I'm a PhD candidate in mechanical engineering as well. In Simularge, we offer digital transformation solutions to increase efficiency and sustainability in manufacturing domain. So today I will talk about how to rebound from the pandemic and its adverse effects stronger with the utilization of digital transformation.
Thank you so much, Ms. Buryan. So viewers, other than these two guest speakers, we in the APO, we also would like to share with viewers on how actually our focus program in 2022. So I can receive the signal that our moderator, Ms. Meidyatama, is already with us. Hello, Pak. How are you?
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, I just finished the introduction with these two guest speakers. May I hand over the session to you, Pak Meidyatama?
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. First of all, let me introduce myself again. My name is Meidyatama Suryodiningrat. I am the President Director of the National News Agency Antara in Jakarta, Indonesia. My greetings to you all with a best of prayers and hopes for your health and your family and everyone around the world. I am delighted to be here this afternoon to engage again in the APO talk, which I think will be one of the first for 2022. I am delighted to be engaged with APO, and they have been conducting various activities, not least of which of these series of discussions. As we know, the COVID pandemic has been with us for nearly 2 years now. It has changed the way we do business. It has changed the way we live. It has changed everything about every aspect of life. And I think we have slowly but surely come to the acceptance that everything that we knew before 2020 will never be the same again. This afternoon, I'm delighted that we have two very representative and knowledgeable speakers. The first of which is Dr. Minh Khuong from the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy in Singapore, an associate. So let me first introduce Dr. Vu.
Thank you. So let me share my slide first. So it's actually great pleasure for me today to present this research, and I do believe that the COVID-19 is not only disaster. Actually, it's an excellent shock to help on the country to enter a new phase of development characterized by productivity, innovation, sustainability, and inclusiveness. So I actually start with the presentation focusing on three issues here: the patterns of economic rebound and regrowth, and try to draw some key observation and insights. And based on that, we actually discuss some policy implication. So I use actually the information, the data of, just released from the World Bank and ADB just recently, very recently. So here we have some very latest projection for the year to come. So in the world, you can see this picture. The whole world actually, before the crisis, the whole world grew at 2.6%. And then in 2020, the global economy contracted by 3.4%. So it means we are in actually at a lower level of economic prosperity in 2020. But 2021 is a very strong rebound, 5.5%. And we expect, still fairly good growth in 2022 and 2023. And actually, this growth somehow above the pre-pandemic level, 2.6. So in the broad view, we see some fairly optimistic growth. Even the growth here still very imbalanced. It means some sectors still suffer severely because actually personal actually the face-to-face interaction is still limited. Tourism services still limited, but you can see the robust growth here already. And I would like to emphasize that this growth not only strong globally, but also widespread, across the region. The similar pattern you can see for East Asia, South Asia, Europe, Middle East, South Africa. Of course, the growth is somehow uneven. It means some countries, some regions perform much better than other. That also a policy issue we should discuss. And definitely you can see the variation in terms of government responses and the effort to embrace the new emerging opportunity to reshape the growth model. And so that's why we'll be talking about regrowth. So not only recovery, but also regrowth in this presentation. So because we are in this presentation, we focus more on the APO economy. So interestingly, here I see a great example. Turkey. I look at the Turkey because somehow Turkey actually not among the Asian countries. So I have to pick up the Turkey first. And luckily, Turkey looked very good here. Pre-pandemic is grew only 0.9%, not so good, stagnated. During the pandemic, they tried to manage to be okay, 1.8%, so no contraction here. But 21 and 9.5%, and after that 2 and 3%, so higher than the pre-pandemic level. And I actually related that my actually co-speaker today, Asia from Turkey. She will share with you more about digital transformation in Turkey. I think she has a great insight to what's going on in Turkey to share with her. I also look at the Tiger 4 economy. Those economy performed very well in the past. But actually in 2019, it means pre-pandemic, not so impressive because they become the mature economy. And during 2020, some countries like Hong Kong and Singapore, because they are their small size and heavily exposed to the global economy, so contracted severely. 6% in Hong Kong and 5.4% in Singapore. But 2021 actually rebound robustly, 6.4, 6.9%, and sustain that in 2022. I don't have data for 2023, but look very good. And same for South Korea and Taiwan. So it means the country that actually very engaging in technology and emerging global opportunities seem to be faring very well as well. Now I look into the the picture of East Asia Pacific before talking about South Asia. So I see the evidence here across country. For example, some big country like China, they're doing quite well. So no economic contraction and recovery. However, 2022 and 2023, that growth actually slowed down compared to pre-pandemic level. So some policy issue here as well. I discuss later. But some country like Cambodia actually suffer a lot here, and do not decrease this year 2.2%, and 22 and 23 actually growth slowed down compared to pre-pandemic. I see Indonesia perform fairly well, but actually somehow it's a basic thing, come back to the pre-pandemic level, and actually coming back to the pre-pandemic level of economy as well. So recovery totally in 2021 and perform fairly well in 2020 to 2023. So Philippines, suffer from very severe contraction here, 9.6%. And after the so recover not so strongly in 2021 and 22 and 23 actually have not achieved the pre-pandemic level growth. I also have some concern for Vietnam here. The growth, even managed to expand economy during the pandemic, 2020 and 2021, but the 22 and 23 actually growth actually lower than pre-pandemic level. It means it requires a lot more structural reform in this country. Now I move on to India. Excited to actually I am excited about Bangladesh here. Manage expand the economy 3.5% here. And and still sustain very robust growth in the year to come, even though we can see the world economy have not come back to normal. There's some an imbalance here in growth pattern by sector, but that's a great excellent one. I also see India because I study India, and I see there are actually efforts in structural reform and they enjoy, of course, they suffer severely in 2020, contracting economy. The economy contracted by 7.3%, but 21, 22, and 23, it looked like a miracle. 8%, 7%. That's amazing. That actually the overall picture. So what actually you can draw here. So here, first, I would like to show that most economies suffer from some severe contraction in 2022. That's unavoidable. That's a global pattern. 3 to 6%. That's everywhere. And the pace a pattern of recovery robust, but very largely. But most economy come back to pre-pandemic level in 2021 or 2022. So not too far. China and India show strong recovery pattern, and India appear to reap first fruits of its structural reform efforts. We discuss this later if we have time. And the tiger for economy, as I show, and also Turkey exhibit actually impressive, rebound and regrowth. Among ASEAN countries, I still see actually not strong growth here. A lot of structural reform we need to discuss here for ASEAN country, even the best performing country before, like Vietnam or Cambodia, now also have to look at their growth in model to see how they can emerge stronger from the crisis. Bangladesh turned out to be a great economy. We should actually study more to get insight into what's going on with this economy, even though they seem very low level of development. But that's very encouraging news for South Asia in general and Bangladesh in particular. The second observation I would like to emphasize here is that a driver of a recovery, of course, is very largely in magnitude and pattern. However, we can see consumption for sure important, but investment and export. The country actually can support a lot of investment, especially from public sector or private sector, and choosing the sector like the green transformation or export of technology, that definitely grow faster. If you look at the supply side, you can see services is the government actually spend a lot more for healthcare and other things, or manufacturing also contribute a lot to grow. And across country, you can see the resilience of the agriculture sector. That's great. In terms of country characteristics, I can see the size for sure. So it means if economy more integrated and bigger, it actually less affected by the pandemic. And political stability and government effectiveness also important for a country to be resilient. Some country like Myanmar, can see later on, suffer severely from this problem. The economic model that embrace ICT for export or for digital transformation definitely also perform better. And the effort to integrate the economy into the world economy, regional economy, or within economy, very important. Actually, and exposed to foreign tourists somehow actually the negative factor severely. So here, I would like to draw some strategic insight for us with challenges. For sure, you can see three big challenges here. The first one, big predictability. The risk from the COVID-19 outbreaks since somewhere, after Omicron is ready for the new variant. So I see the 4S factor here. The source, you don't know where it come from. The schedule, I mean, when it happen, and speed, how fast it is, and scale, how spread it also. So that's actually unpredictable. We should be ready for that one. The second one related to uncertainty. Some countries want to impose zero COVID, other living with COVID. So that's why we lack international coordination. So this is a problem. The third one, geopolitical tension. We still see this going on, in Ukraine or China and the US. A big issue we should discuss. And actually, unpredictability is a big part of the growth pattern, recovery pattern in the time to come. If you reduce this factor, definitely you can see a lot more robust regrowth, recovery and regrowth. The second one, you can see the losses of basic activity, efficiency and synergy because of the COVID. The travel restriction, the global value chain disruption in production and transport, And you also see some global, regional, and even domestic disintegration. Some country, impose too strict, COVID-19 protocol, and even destroy the integration of the domestic economy and suffer a lot. Inflation, you can see the health cost. These days, we have to conduct the test on the time. Definitely the cost will show up somewhere. The cost of production and transport going up. Climate change, now we actually see the importance of the renewable energy. So here is mixed picture. The third factor, as well as short term, you see some switching costs. Definitely is severe for some economy. However, we can see that the green technology will reduce the energy cost substantially in the time to come. It will take a longer time. So in short term, we can see some problem with inflation here, but in long term, I actually opportunities. So in summary, I would like to say that the challenges are very severe, but operational. Challenges, but opportunity I see a lot more interesting and fundamental. So digital transformation everywhere, even very poor country now also, take up the e-commerce robustly, and you can see the paradigm shift, taking place everywhere across sector and area, and stronger resilient. Now people are actually more prepared for whatever would happen, and the ecosystem across country are also strengthened from government to business. I observe it in Vietnam as well, and deeper commitment to reform and innovation by many countries. They also embrace sustainability, renewable energy, and I also see, on country, seem to be very willing to spend a lot of money to stimulate, the economy, spending a lot on infrastructure. So that's good news. Definitely, it have a very important impact on the economic growth and in the time to come. So I would like to emphasize that these opportunities are strategic and fundamental. So why actually challenges actually are severe and operational opportunity strategy, and they actually enable structural reform. In the past, it's impossible. Now, easier for the government to do that, but they have to do that, and also promote, this decisive, creative disruption. So that's why we can foresee economic transformation, innovations, and sustain robust growth in the time to come. That actually we can predict. But of course, it depends on the government. That's why we draw some policy implication here. First one, we have to see that throughout the pandemic and for the time to come, because the whole world and every country enter a new phase, a new paradigm shift. So definitely government play a crucial role in engineering economic recovery and regrowth. So stimulus package for sure important, but structural reform and imagination of the future actually are more critical, strategic, and imperative. So in terms of strategy approach, I would like to emphasize 3S here: survival. We have to think about survival rather than just growth. The second one, synergy. We can see a lot of synergy within a country, within country in the region and the whole world. We have to foster synergy. Definitely do not actually try to stay alone, whatever. And sustainability. We have to care about the future as well. And that actually the three forces shaping our future. So in terms of strategy, people usually come with the SWOT here: strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. Here in my model, I would like to change it into tools. It means have to start with threats. We care, if we look at the threats and our own weaknesses, we will see better opportunity and what kind of strength we have, so that we can develop a more effective strategy. So here is actually the key message. We have to embrace the digital revolution for sure, and building government 4.0. I would like to talk about government 4.0 later when we have time. Deepening the domestic, regional, global integration. For example, ASEAN country, I really want to have an ASEAN. If ASEAN integrated like China or India, definitely ASEAN country will benefit more from economic recovery and regrowth in the time to come. 2 or 3 percentage point growth, we can expect it if they are more integrated. And we also have to foster innovation and economic transformation. Those things actually very critical and urgent policy priority that on our APO country member countries should consider and take. That's all for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vu, for a very enlightening presentation. If I do not want to sum up your very deep presentation, but I think the sense that you are giving us is that you are very hopeful about the future and that there is a very promising outlook, especially in the next two years or so. And that many of the economies will actually rebound in 2022 and 2023 to pre-pandemic levels. Now, as a follow-up of that, you've also said that there will be significant paradigm shifts in the economy. The question is, when you are hopeful that most economies in the Asia Pacific will return to pre-pandemic levels, is that return based on the new paradigm shift, or is it still based on the old economic models that were before? That's sort of the basic question, because if it is based on the old economic models of before, that means in 2025-26, the growth will even accelerate further, because then the paradigm shift will kick in.
I think that's an excellent question. And this pattern somehow in uneven. Some countries definitely have lifted their economic growth model into the new one, but other countries still remain in traditional one. That's why I look at the growth, forecast for 2022 and 2023 in comparison to the growth observed in for 2019. So if you grow slow down, compared to pre-pandemic, it means we still heavily rely on traditional model. But acceleration means some new growth model emerging. That's only early indicator. We still be subject to a lot of uncertainty here, but some early indicator definitely. And this actually I think the key factor underlying the growth or pattern in the time to come. So it will be very uneven in the time to come, and the reward should come to the country that actually bolder in embracing the new growth model that heavily depend on technology and sustainability, and even innovation and inclusiveness. Thank you.
Right. And just as a very, very quick follow-up, for the reasons that you have just said just now, is that why you have specifically identified countries like Taiwan and Bangladesh?
Exactly right. Yes, I think Bangladesh somehow actually the old model, but changing now, or even India now focusing more on manufacturing. I think manufacturing very important in the time to come. So I see some initiative and structural reform focusing on promoting manufacturing. In the past, the South Asian country somehow emphasize services and overlook the effort to promote manufacturing and agriculture. But this day, I see actually those countries follow the East Asia pattern, like China, India, China, or East Asian countries. So they will benefit more. So I definitely that's a good deal for the less developed country to look at for the time to come.
Great, wonderful. I'm sure we will have some follow-up questions from the audience a bit later on. Next, I would like to turn to Ms. Buryan Turan. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. President and CEO of Simularge Informatics and Engineering. So the floor or the Zoom meeting or the meeting is yours for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Please.
Thank you. Could you share the presentation? Thanks. In this Rebound and Regrowth session, my presentation will be focusing on the utilization of digital transformation and Industry 4.0 in order to rebound stronger from the adverse effects of the pandemic. So since I'm an expert in this industrial domain, my presentation will be focused on rebound by leveraging the opportunity in industrial domain. So first of all, I would like to emphasize three main aspects that can help us rebound faster, which is digitalization. First, you need to digitize the data and you need to collect the information related to your operations, and then you should leverage this data, which means digitalization, for your business improvement and new business models to come up with different strategies with using that data. So you need to leverage data. However, you need to, let's say that you come up with a digitalization solution, you tested it, and it seems to be fine, and it will bring you more profitability, for example. You need to scale this digitalization inside your business, like scaling a digitalization solution from one of your factory to another. This should be easy for you to perform, because if there's a barrier about scaling, this will be more like a pilot study of digital transformation rather than a broad profitability. It will not give you a broad margin about profitability if you cannot scale it. So it should also contribute to the sustainability. As Dr. Wu mentioned, sustainability is a great concern, especially in the long run. So as human beings, we all need to participate to sustainability, especially in the industrial domain, because we know that there's scrap and rework, especially in the manufacturing domain, and the loss is $8 trillion. This is the global loss due to losses in the manufacturing processes. So if you make these solutions sustainable, you also need to improve your digital skill sets. You need to adapt to the new era of the industrial transformation. So you need to have in-house digital skill set to perform well in the scalability. And when we check the main productivity drivers for profitability, it's expected to have digitization, AI, automation, and tech enablement in the very first place. That will be the main driver. So it's better you start sooner digitization. If you start earlier, your business may become more profitable by 2024, which means in upcoming 3 years. And operations processes, people and organizations, resilience and operational agility and ESG follows. You can also leverage these productivity drivers, and you can concentrate on those as well. But on top of that, you should, we all need to start focusing on digitalization. This is a report from McKinsey. It shows the highest potential sectors. They are automatable sectors, and on top we can see manufacturing. It has more room for growth, more room for automation, and if most of the Asian countries are quite good at manufacturing, so there's a huge market here. If they start to improve manufacturing processes more with digitalization and Industry 4.0 solutions, there is room for growth. This is an opportunity. So when we check the plot here, schematic here, you can see that manufacturing is on top. It's also about the retail and, for example, construction, utilities. So this is operationally intensive sector, and also it's easier, which means that it's also easier to transform digitally. Also, there's an outcome from the reports that ability to respond to pandemic crisis even better, even stronger for the factories which already implemented or started to implement Industry 4.0 solutions, because they have more agility to respond to drawbacks of the pandemic crisis. Which means Industry 4.0 implementation maturity level. Let's say that you start Industry 4.0 implementation and digitalization with the pandemic. This means that you need to hurry up. You might be a bit behind the schedule of improving your digital skill sets and digitalization roadmap, because if you want to have more flexibility and agility to adapt to new era, you need to start digitally transforming very fast. Because as you see here, during the pandemic crisis, respondents said that Industry 4.0 is more valuable during the pandemic. So these companies or factories will leverage their infrastructure and technical enablers as a stronger rebound from the adverse effects of the pandemic as well, not only during the pandemic crisis, but also after the pandemic crisis. This digitalization will help. Later on, I will give you more information and an example about a good example showing how to use this Industry 4.0 revolution for more profitability and more sustainability. This is the example. As Simularge, we worked with Beko. Beko is the Europe's #1 home appliances brand. It has Turkish roots. It belongs to a refrigerator plant. So this process is called thermoforming. It is the plastic material shaping process. In the specific thermoforming machine, the inner body of the refrigerators were being produced. So before the implementation of digitalization solution, the operations were manual. And although the operation parameters are set by the operator and just relying on the know-how of the operator. So decision-making process purely was relying on the know-how of the operator. Therefore, they were ending up with defective products quite often. This means that scrap, so they were consuming plastic raw material more than it should be. So after implementing digital transformation solution, that is a smart decision maker app, this application indeed a quite deep tech application. It performs some optimization algorithms in the back end, combining with the sensor that excuse me. So it gives you some actionable insights about how to operate these manufacturing machines to prevent these defective products before they happen. So once the operators get this information from the application and apply onto the machine and start to operate the machines with these optimum operation parameters such as optimum pressure or optimum temperature, they started to end up with high quality products. They started to reduce scraps by 50% and also saved 1,600 tons of plastic materials, which eventually led them to save 2 million euros each and every year. And also during this pandemic, the main motivation was the inflation in plastic raw material pricing. It increased like 6 to 70%. So plastic consumption was a great concern for this company, and we helped them to reduce this plastic consumption by offering our deep tech technology solution, Industry 4.0 solution. So this was on a single thermoforming machine, but now they're in the phase of scaling this machine all around the world because they have 9 different global sites, and you need to be more careful about how to scale the solution, because in the first place you need to select a good technology and good technological infrastructure, because if it's just like one time and if you need to build another solution for another machine from ground level, it means less productivity. Like you need to spend hours, which means negative productivity on the labor side. So you need to be careful about the technological infrastructure that you're working on. It needs to be scaled faster from one machine to another, and also this serves for the sustainability purposes. This company was one of the pioneers. There's a global lighthouse network showing the pioneers of Industry 4.0 companies. So we were lucky to work with them. Now they're in the phase of scaling this product, the solution to their 9 different global sites. And also another thing to emphasize here is As I mentioned earlier, Beko was the first movers in experimenting with new digital technologies. But apart from this, they were also very good at filling the technical talent gap. We as Simularge, we worked with Beko team to create the solution. Even in the pandemic region, we worked remotely. We created the solution in 2 months or so together, just with online meetings. Even this was related to a hardware. We are, of course, delivering some software solution, but you need to get information from the production machine itself. So there should be some people working inside the factory. At least you need to get data from them. This was at the very beginning of the pandemic, so we needed more help from Beko workers. So they were able to fill the gap, the technical gap. We worked with them as a team. So this is also important for factories who wants to develop their solutions or adapt some digital transformation solutions to their factories. They need to have some digital skill set inside. To wrap up my recommendations, I think most important thing is to utilize digitalization to rebound faster from the pandemic, and this also brings you more profitability. Not just disregard the pandemic. Even you're just rebound from the adverse effects of the pandemic, you can also move forward with digitalization for more profitability. And also, if you want to have a good solution, you need to scale it. You need to be able to scale it. So you need to pay attention to technology of the Industry 4.0 solution that you're leveraging and you're piloting, let's say. And also, it should be support with the digital skill set that you have. This is a great concern also in European Union reports, and there will be a missing competency in this ICT sector and digital skills of the, for example, operators or other workers. So there should be some training plans inside the factories or companies, not just for manufacturing, but also for other sectors like retail or so. For example, also in logistics. If you would like to increase productivity of your operations, definitely you need to have some inside workforce. You cannot rely on just the outsider solutions for your operations, because some of our clients told us that in the past they used some digital transformation solutions. They bought the solution from an outsider technology provider, but now after a couple of years or so, they started to experience some issues with the solution, and now they are not able to interfere with the solution and change something inside the solution. They have some capability to do that. At manufacturing facilities, there are lots of engineers working, so they can also develop their solutions, or at least change or contribute to the solution. So I think it's better to think about the solution. It shouldn't be a black box solution. You need to contribute to the solution itself in order to make it more sustainable in future. You don't want to scrap the solution in the long run. So you need to improve your digital skill set and support it with a scalable technological infrastructure. Thank you very much for listening. I would be happy to answer your questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, Ms. Buryan, for your very interesting pointers and examples. And I think you have made a lot of business leaders attending today think further. I have a quick follow-up. When you mention Industry 4.0, I think most of us use that as a buzzword. About 3 or 4 years ago, we realized about 4.0. We started talking about it, but very few actually went through it immediately, right? So, and now we are hopefully at the end of the beginning of this pandemic, and hopefully it'll be an endemic, and everyone is sort of in a race at the moment, come 2022, 23 to digitalize, to get up to speed with Industry 4.0. So I have a real world practical question in that, how many percent, if I was a business leader, how many percent of my budget would it take for me over the next 2-3 years to go into this, to invest in this industry 4.0, and how long would it actually take for me to engage to that level of 4.0? You've mentioned that you had a solution which took about 2 months of online meetings. So very quickly, that's a very simple, practical question.
To be honest, it depends on the solution and technology provider you work on. There are some black box solutions in the market. So if you are okay to work with them, there are if you leverage big data solutions, you need to spend at least 6 months. You need to collect data for 6 months. So this brings you an extra cost. I cannot tell you how much in terms of percentages for your budget, but from my perspective, the budget that you're going to spend is not important, because there's a return on investment in Industry 4.0 projects. Let's say that if you pay 1, you're going to get 3 or 4, right? In that case, you're going to balance it. This is as you see in this example, it's a cost avoidance. You reduce the plastic consumption, so you don't have to pay more for plastic raw material anymore, thanks to your Industry 4.0 solution. So you should consider spending less on some other department, and you should spend some money for Industry 4.0 solution. Since this is a recurring saving, or it could be also not just plastic raw material consumption, but also electricity and so on. So, and also labor cost or so. For a good Industry 4.0 solution, you need to get at least, I think, 2x return as a starting point, and you don't need to spend too much time with the big data, more than 6 months or so. To be honest, for our solution, it takes less time and less budget, just because we are leveraging our mechanical engineering expertise and simulation models to back up the very limited data. When you combine mechanical engineering know-how and simulation codes with the less amount of data, you are able to create a solution in a very short period of time. So this means that it needs less budget compared to other big data solutions. So that's why we differentiate our solution. And also, if you would like to be a part of the solution, it costs less for you too. For example, if you get this as an engineering service, engineering service fee is included. But if you have some in-house workforce like engineers, IT engineers or mechanical engineers, they're also able to create their own solution, own digital transformation solution. But by just using our Industry 4.0 platform, it has AI capabilities, mechanical simulation, and digital twinning capabilities. And also, I know that these seems a bit complicated, but the platform also gives you opportunity to collect data and monitor that data. This is just the beginning of the digital transformation journey. Digitization is the very first step, and the digital twinning and optimization is the last step and most advanced level of the digital transformation. So you need to start with digitizing first. Let's say that you have some pilots and digital data. You can move forward with other steps of the digital transformation. This means Industry 4.0 maturity level. So I recommend you to develop your own digital skill sets and use a platform which gives you very simplistic solutions and also very complicated solutions, because it will be your partner all along the Industry 4.0 process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Before we go on into one or two Q&As from the audience, I would like now to invite Mr. Zainuri to give a brief overview of the APO activities which we can all look forward to in 2022.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meidyatama, for giving us the opportunity for the APO Secretariat, for the APO as well, to share with the viewers what we are working on and what we are what we are heading, especially in 2022, due to this pandemic. So there are 3 things that I would like to share with the audience, with the viewers, as well as our guest speakers. There are what actually the lesson learned from the pandemic and what is related to productivity. The second is what is our response, and the third is what is our focus for 2022. So The first point that I would like to share is about the pandemic as well as productivity. So we learned past 2 years that reviving the productivity would need to rely on a structural support measures to help business recover from pandemic. So I think it's already what Dr. Wu mentioned earlier about the support from the government as well. So this is very, very important to make sure that the business can recover very fast. The second one is the second points that we learn will lesson learned is about the pandemic itself, making the centrality of productivity. This is the theme, the focus area that we in the APO we are promoted to member countries to highlight the importance of productivity. So based on the pandemic, because of this pandemic, the centrality of productivity becoming more relevant and needed for sustainable recovery. And the third point that the lesson learned from the past 2 years, there are the hopes that opportunity, there is something new coming in, which is very good opportunity for all the sectors to improve. Is something like flexible work mode, rapid adoption of digital technology, something that has been earlier shared by Ms. Buryan. So this accelerate all these things that actually before the pandemic has been promoted, but because of this crisis, it becoming more faster for the various sectors to adopt. And of course, we still need the government support to boost the productivity either in a short and also medium term. Then the second point that I would like to share with the viewers is what's the response from the APO as the inter-regional government organizations due to this current situation. For the past 2 years, when the pandemic happened in 2020, as well as continued in last year, we are focusing on building the resilience and strengthening the capacities. So we introduce a new programs to support the our implementing agencies in the member countries. For instance, the National Productivity Organization, we enhanced their digital capability, we supported them, as well as we are focusing also to the SMEs and as well as critical sectors, for instance, like health sectors in member countries, by giving them a special assistance. And for this 2022, so we are looking forward for how to rebound as well as regrowth. So here the terms rebound and regrowth already discussed earlier by Dr. Wu. So for us, this is something that we would like to bring back the organization before the pandemic as well as to improve further, as to improvise their performance. That's what we call it, regrowth. And the one thing that is very coincidence when in 2020 when the pandemic had just started, at that time APO is introducing the new vision, which is Vision 2025. So this is the 5 years program, the 5 years roadmap guidance for APO to develop the activities, the initiative to help member countries with a vision called inclusive innovation-led productivity growth in the Asia and Pacific. So we are focusing into 4 areas. The first is leveraging the new drivers of productivity. The second one, we are talking about enhancing productivity tools, techniques, and methodologies, which is very, very coincident with the pandemic. Because of this pandemic, we are talking about the new normal. So something, the new thing that we need to introduce, how to enhance the productivity. And we are also focusing on inclusive productivity, as well as the fourth points, which is our strategic partner in member countries. We need also to develop the National Productivity Organization, which is the NPOs, our strategic partner in implementing the program in member countries. So the final point that I would like to share is what actually we are focusing on in 2022. So when we develop the program activities for 2022, we consider what is happening for the past 2 years and what is the thing that we need to help them, the member countries, to accelerate, to expedite their recovery. So the first thing that we would like to help is upgrading the capabilities of enterprises and organizations. Here is our main focus, particularly the small, medium enterprises in member countries. So we know that they are badly affected by the pandemic. So this is the time for us to help them through digitizations, particularly for them to rebound and regrowth for the next, to sustain their business. And the second is we are talking about strengthening the enablers of productivity. This is what we part of the Vision 2025, which is we want to develop the new as well as upgrading the current tools and techniques in enhancing productivity. So the third point, what we are focusing in 2022 is, this is also in line with what Dr. Wu mentioned about the economic transformation. So we are going to help member countries by giving them the advisory. We are going to publish a research on that, and we also want to help them by deputing technical expert to help them in changing or in transforming the economic structure. And the fourth point, as I mentioned earlier, our strategic partner, which is National Productivity Organization, is our priority. So we would like to help further with them. We are focusing on in-country program, which is national focus program, rather than in a multi setting. But we would like to focus in each member countries what actually their needs, what actually their expectations based on the current situations. So, Pak Meidyatama, so this is what I would like to share with the viewers as well as guest speakers and you about what APO focus area in 2022. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Zainuri. Once again, my and our appreciation to the APO for the good work that you have done, and our hope that we will continue in helping us all enable companies throughout the region to rise above this crisis. We have now two questions, one each from the audience, for both Ms. Buryan and Dr. Wu. First is for Ms. Buryan, and this is from Christy. And the question relates to something that I actually raised earlier. A very practical question in that many industries are pushing for digitalization. However, gadgets, devices such as tablets, laptops, PCs, and etc., are still very expensive or expensive. Will this hinder that push towards digitalization? So that's the first question for Ms. Buryan. I'll just go ahead with the second question and let the speakers take turns in answering. The second question is for Dr. Wu from Malok in Malaysia. Which sectors or industries will rebound faster? And the more scarier question, which industries may be sunset or may not be sustainable? So first to Ms. Buryan.
And it was a good question, by the way. When you think about digitalization, we think that there should be a tablet or another device in place, but this is not necessary. These are all hardwares, and we're talking about digital transformation, right? And there are some other ways to perform or take digital actions without an extra hardware. Let's think about PLCs of the installed machines and factories. You are also able to install something in those PLCs. I mean, you can leverage your installed devices in the shop floor. There shouldn't be any extra tablets or laptops required in order to start a digital transformation journey. You can start small, and you can use your already installed infrastructure for this purpose. You can start with taking some SMSs as a warning signals from your PLC or so. You can, everybody has some cell phone, and you can get warnings to that cell phones from a digital transformation system or your a digital transformation solution installed in your intranet or so. So you can get some signals from your installed infrastructure, and you can use your own devices to get warnings or so. So to sum up my answers, I don't think that this will hinder the digital transformation push. You can use your already installed infrastructure to start a digital transformation.
So in other words, would you agree that the issue is not the hardware, but more of the software? And the software is both the solution and the mindsets of the people in trying to process that digitalization.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So next we go to Dr. Wu, please.
Okay, I think that actually this question are great, and the sunrise industry quite important here. We have to look at first, because actually somehow emerging opportunity for all country to look at. So industry related to digital technology and green technology, sustainability. So I see huge fortune here. And the Tiger 4 economy, for example, have taken this the opportunity very seriously and emerging stronger, definitely, from the crisis. For example, I just read the news that LG Energy Solution going to have an IPO on January 27, and it should raise a lot of money for the valuation of $60 billion. One of the largest economy, become one of the largest economy in South Korea. So innovation in promoting sustainability, that's wonderful. I remember that just a couple of years ago when we have to promote private sector to invest in green technology, giving them the guarantee price of 9.3 cents per kilowatt hour, but now the bidding price only 4 cent per kilowatt hour, so substantially reduced. So it means investment in sustainability, green technology actually a lot more profitable. So along with digital technology, green technology also wonderful opportunity for the time to come. And here you should think about the emerging technology in this way, because they have 3 major characteristics that actually shape the future of our humankind. The first one, pervasiveness. It means they are penetrating across sector everywhere. So talking about gadgets, for example, why it's still expensive? Because in the past you have a couple 100 million people use it, but now billion people use it. So supply, still limited. That's why the price not going up. That's for good news already, because the demand is expanding everywhere, remote area everywhere, using the gadgets. So that's why it's still not reduced substantially. The second one, innovation. It keep going up, improving a lot more. So the product is today is much better than before, and we can expect much better product, in the next 3 or 5 years. Cost lower, performance is better. And the third one, it plays some actually fundamental platform for emerging innovation. So definitely something in take place, and important and imperative for government across country to see this opportunity to embrace emerging technology and industry. Of course, you can see also the declining one. If you produce car like Thailand, just produce gasoline, use gasoline, definitely problem. If they do not, embark on transformation very rapidly toward, the electric car problem, or some country rely heavily on oil refinery, like in Middle East or somewhere, also a problem. So definitely we see opportunity at the same time. I see, big challenges for some countries. So definitely that's why the role of government this time very important, very, very important. That's why I would like to emphasize again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vu. Because we have run out of time, it is now my duty to make a closing statement and to close this afternoon's events. First of all, I would like to thank both our speakers, Ms. Buryan and Dr. Vu, for their brilliant presentations. It has enlightened us all. I know I have been personally educated further in ways of looking at how to face 2022 and the challenges ahead. Second of all, I would also like to thank and encourage further APO to continue to engage with us, to help us through these very challenging times ahead. Thank you very much for your efforts and your initiatives. About a year ago, I was also had the pleasure to moderate a similar session with the APO. And let me tell you that the outlook was very different. We were still in the early phase of the pandemic. Everyone was trying to look at how to survive. As we heard with today's presentations, things look somewhat hopeful and very promising. What we have learned today is that there is much work to do. And by much work means that there is also much hope, and that there are many opportunities ahead of us. It is up to us to engage and realize those opportunities. And I'm sure in realizing those opportunities, the APO will be with you all hand in hand. So thank you again for today's events. Please stay well, stay safe. All my best, our best to all your families as we face 2022. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.